Hello, everyone, and welcome to this next segment on holistic immunity presented by the Organic India Institute for Healthy Conscious Living. Today, we have an incredible lineup of wellness experts from literally all over the world. We have Dr. Marc Cohen from Australia. We have Rachna Chhachhi from India, and we have Dr. Alejandro Junger from Los Angeles, although originally from Uruguay. So we're going to be covering a full spectrum of wisdom internationally on this topic of lifestyle, how our lifestyle impacts our immunity. Why is water the elixir of life? And how do you ensure that you're both bathing and drinking quality rather than chemicals? And Marc, I want you to kick this one off. This has been a lot of your study.
Yeah, it's going to be challenging to keep this really brief because I could talk for hours on water. But basically, we are water. If you look at the number of molecules in your body, you're 99% water molecules. And water is tiny compared to collagen or nucleic acids or big proteins. So water is literally the physical infrastructure of our body. It's also the operating system for our consciousness because water holds memory. Water does have consciousness. So water is part of who we are. And it's not just an industrial product that we get from the councils. And we're in this position, this crazy position now, where governments put poison in our water deliberately to make us healthy or to make us safe. So they're literally putting poison, chlorine and fluoride, which are absolutely poisonous. And the reason why they use chlorine is it's so toxic, it'll kill bacteria at 0.2 or 0.6 parts per million when it comes out of your tap. Now, that was a good strategy in the early 1900s when typhoid and cholera were big issues. But that was before we understood that bacteria are our friends. The bacteria in our gut and on our skin, our natural microbiome, are incredibly important for our health. Yet we're waging war on them all the time with disinfectants, antibiotics, and chlorination in our water. And there's a lot of people who understand that they wouldn't put things on their skin that they wouldn't put in their mouth. So they're using a lot of organic skincare and hair care. But they're putting water on their skin that they wouldn't put in their mouth. And when I started in medical school, we were taught that the surface area of the body was 1.8 square meters compared to the gut, which was 25 square meters because the gut has these villi, these little projections inside the gut. Well, now, as of last year, that we finally understand that the skin has all these inverted villi. Every time you have a hair follicle or a sweat gland, that increases the surface area of your skin where the bacteria can live. And if you count that surface area, your skin has an area of 20 to 30 square meters. So this is a massive area where we interact with microbes, which are good for us. So we don't want to be waging war on that with literally war chemicals. So that's, water is, it's who we are, the water we drink, and it's probably more important to filter your bathing water than your drinking water because you're actually exposed to more water. And they've done research in the 1990s and since then that show if you drink chlorinated water, the chloramines and disinfection byproducts and chloroform and trihalomethanes get absorbed, they get actually processed by your liver and don't appear in your blood. But if you have a hot shower or a hot bath, these compounds are volatile. They go into the air, you breathe them in through your lungs, they absorb through your skin, and they appear directly in your blood. And by that time, they're bypassing your liver. So you get a much bigger dose of these really toxic, chloroform and trihalomethanes from bathing, especially when the water's warm, than you do by drinking. So it's, the quality of our water, it's probably the easiest thing to do to upgrade your health is to upgrade the water you're bathing in and drinking. And perhaps the best way to find or get the best water, there's a website, a free website called Find a Spring. I think it's findaspring.org. And that will give you a location all around the world to your natural spring water. And that's the best quality water if you have access to it. I can keep talking, but maybe I'll let the discussion go briefly because water is such an important topic. And as I said, when you get the basic things right, everything else seems to go right by itself. So, upgrading your water is such an effective way to upgrade your health, just as upgrading and actually upgrading your water will upgrade your sleep as well. So these are things that are interrelated.
Here in the United States, the city supplied water has been studied, and it contains antidepressants, Viagra, chemotherapy agents, antibiotics, you name it, every drug on the pharmacopoeia, because people take the drugs, they pee, then the drugs enter the, they go around the system and come back to your home. So I have a system, a water filtration system, where at the point of entry of the city supplied water, and it's a huge, for the whole house, right? So even my garden, because I have an edible garden, I eat my garden, I water it with filtered water. Now, in addition to that, when the water goes to my kitchen, it encounters another filtration system with 3 carbon filters of diminishing size, so they catch different things. Then it goes through an ultraviolet light just in case any viruses went through. Then it goes through a reverse osmosis membrane. Then it passes through a coral, so it gives it gives the water some kind of memory of mineralization, and then it comes through my tap. And with that water, I cook and I make tea and that. And then I have a swimming pool. I'm lucky, and in my swimming pool, I inject ozone. I have an ionizer and an ultraviolet light as well, so I don't have to put chlorine in my swimming pool.
Can I just say very, very similar? I've actually developed a water system. I call it Extreme Wellness Water Filters. And they don't just filter the water, they filter it, they structure the water, they use vortexes and magnets to structure the water, they balance the pH and minerals, and they actually bless the water. So having a conscious intention put into your water. So these aren't just filters, they're sacred water vessels that give you conscious water to then become, and it does for the whole house. So I bathe in that, I give that to my plants, I cook in it, I wash in it. And you find when you do that, you actually get things cleaner. You don't need as much soaps. It's a better solvent, and you don't get the soap build up on your surfaces or on your skin. So your skin is clearer, your hair is clearer, and pretty much every part of your life is enhanced once you improve that water quality. But it really is important to do your whole house. The reverse osmosis, if you're going to do reverse osmosis or distillation, you need to remineralize the water, because water needs to be naturally mineralized. It needs to also be naturally balanced in terms of pH, and preferably not electrocuted and made overly alkaline, because over alkaline is, it's just as bad as overly acid. In fact, a lot of natural spring water is very slightly acidic, but your body will naturally change the pH. But then you can get very technical into the hydrogen content of water, the deuterium content of water, and deuterium depleted water is really beneficial, but that can be expensive and hard to manage. But water is, there are 74 scientific anomalies we still don't understand about water. And when we understand water more, we're going to understand ourselves and consciousness more. But really, there's a lot of science around water. There's still a lot we have yet to learn. But it's obvious that you want to remove the toxicity elements and all these emerging contaminants, as Alejandro said, the pharmaceuticals and pesticides and residues and fire retardants and all the pharmaceuticals that are contaminating water. So filtering it's really important. Then you want to structure the water, because that keeps the water memory, and then you can balance it and bless your water. And ultimately, I think water needs to be given away for free. Water should not be a commodity that's bought and sold. And the whole plastic water bottle industry, where 500 billion plastic water bottles are produced every single year, is an absolute disaster economically, environmentally, socially, on every level, that we allow water to become a commodity rather than something that we all have a natural right to, and it's part of who we are.
So Rachna, bring us to India now, different infrastructure. What's happening in terms of innovation in India, and what would you recommend for the nation in terms of how to move in the direction of optimal water for drinking and bathing?
So whether you look at India or Asia, extremely densely populated, there are water wars. I live in a city, I live in Mumbai, where there is an overabundance of water during the monsoons, very little to do with rainwater harvesting, which would have been so beautiful to solve the water crisis. Not just in India, even South Africa has started having water shortage and water wars. And here, water filters are extremely common. Most people do not have tap water, and they never did. So there are different kinds of water filters, and as per affordability of people, we as a family actually drink mineral water because there is no other choice. And there are these companies which are putting spring water in glass bottles. So we do have access to that. I completely agree with Mark. This entire water industry, in terms of the plastics and the diodes, and creating havoc with our systems, with hormones, with cancer rates rising, is a disaster. For people who are not lucky enough, like Alejandro and Mark, uh, get access to just purified water, or just boil the drinking water and cool it down and put it in glass bottles, and not plastic bottles. And don't sit with a bottle of water and drink the entire bottle and say, I'm doing water therapy, because that is going to dilute the nutrients inside you. One glass of water every 90 minutes of waking time is what is required for hydration. Brain cells get dehydrated much faster than the rest of the body. And a lot of people who complain of headaches are actually just dehydrated and need to drink consistent levels of water. So rather than saying, I drink 3 liters, where you're drinking 1 liter 3 times a day, 90 minutes of 200 to 50 ml of water through the day, and good clean water can be made at home with just boiling water and cooling it down and putting it in glass bottles.
Yeah, I think that's an important point. If you want to bathe in chlorine-free water, but you only have access to chlorinated water, make your bath very hot, put the fan on and wait half an hour till the bath cools down till it's a good temperature. The chlorine will dissipate. And then one way to structure your water and clean it is to boil it. And then you put herbal tea, I mean, Tulsi. I have, Tulsi plants always as a little vase. Tulsi leaves will actually extract toxicity from water. They'll extract extra fluoride from water. So having herbal teas helps to structure the water, helps to add, mineralize and add phytochemicals to the water. And, it actually, having continual tea means you're not just sculling, drinking very rapidly 1 liter, you're sipping your water gradually. The water is structured, it's got medicinal benefits, and you can grow Tulsi and other herbs yourself. So this then connects you with that healing cycle of nature and puts you in touch with soil microbes and this whole microbiome. And water will never be sterile. Water wants to always be alive. So it's a matter of, how do you make the good life, how do you create a healthy ecosystem in our water, rather than trying to disinfect everything and have germs as the enemy. Bacteria are our friends, they're who we are. We just have to create healthy ecosystems. And
Mark, we can go really even farther. I just spent time with a Mayan elder who explained to me that water has a spirit, and the spirit of water connects all bodies of water on the earth. So when you touch water in Sydney, my water here knows what's going on. Mm-hmm. So the toxicity of certain bodies of water affects water even in the purest parts of the planet, in terms of the spirit of the water. So it's so important that we all pay attention to this, not just the ones that are healthy conscious that want to do it in their homes, because all of us are suffering from even parts of the world having contaminated water.
That's true. But that also means when you purify water and you add your consciousness to water, and when you structure your water from your system, when that goes out and flows out, that actually helps to restructure the water out in your community, in your local environment, and the world. So water is the thing that connects every living being on Earth. We're all connected through water. I saw last week there was actually a tragic article on plastic coming down in the rain, and they actually measured plastic in the remote wilderness areas in the United States and found that there's the equivalent of 1,000, I think it was 1,000 ton of plastic coming down just in the rain. So this goes around the whole planet. So, and just as we can pollute the whole planet by polluting one water source, we can start to add consciousness and purify the water on Earth. We need to do that through our bodies. And in fact, there is literally a well in our being. We produce our own pure water. For every glucose molecule you burn, you create 6 molecules of water. And that's your pure biological metabolic water. So water is the essence of who we are. There literally is a well in our being. And the more we can tap into that pure water that's the essence of us, that's the point of namaste. If I go to the pure water in me, that's the same as the pure water in you. And when we both connect to that, we are one. Water is the element that holds consciousness. It holds life on planet Earth. It is a blessed substance, and we're all blessed to be part of that. And acknowledging and thanking our water, and just, like we say, grace before meals, thank our water, be conscious of where it comes from. Don't just chuck it down the drain and lose consciousness. Think about where it's going to. And the more we can be in touch with the flow of water through our life, the more the life will flow literally through us.
Well said, Marc. Beautiful. Bless the water, not just the food. And the water in me sees the water in all of you.
Yeah.
I love the low tech advice as well on how we can, let chlorine evaporate rather than needing a lot of the fancy devices. And this is important to, and especially in India, right, where they're not going to install these large systems to filter the water out. And very, very helpful.